Hi,
Hi.
I'm Sue, and I'm a liar, a chronic liar. A liar about big things, about small things, about everything in between. Or I was. But just like alcoholics always refer to themselves as alcoholics, even years after they've been sober, I think it's best if I continue to call myself a liar, to remind myself of the person I never want to be again. Which means that, yes, the story does have a happy ending. But first, let me tell you some of the things I've lied about. I've lied about who I'm attracted to. I've lied about my relationship status. I've lied about my age. I've lied about what I do for a living. I've lied about what I do for fun. I've lied about places I've been and people I've met, conversations I've had. Yeah, like I said, I'm a liar. But why was I lying? And to who? Well, various events of my life, from early childhood traumas to constantly being told who I was supposed to be in my teens and early 20s, molded me into someone who thought that the only thing she could do to be okay was to hide, to tell people what I thought they wanted to hear, to say yes to everything that was asked of me, to put other people's emotional needs before my own. So I became a people pleaser of the worst kind, not just being pleasant and trying to avoid conflict, but actually crafting entirely different narratives of my life, depending on the audience. Worse, I was living narratives that had been scripted for me by others that had nothing to do with what I had wanted for myself. But you see, the longer I hid my true self away, the less I even knew who she was. Fast forward, spring 2020, the pandemic, New York City, cramped apartment, sirens, boxes on screens. And a marriage that had already been showing signs of trouble, now confronted with the reality of just how far it had fallen. I cracked. I lashed out, and I sank into a deep depression. Within a matter of weeks, my partner and I separated. She moved out temporarily, and then I moved out for good. And with friends having left the city, and all the mindless distractions I used to lean on gone, I was alone. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. I suddenly had no audience. I had no one to perform for. I had no one to pretend my life was this or that for. A moment of reckoning had come for me. Who was I? I had once, years ago, been interested in meditation, had heard it could center you, ground you. And in this moment, I needed something, anything, that would settle my screaming mind. So I desperately Google searched local meditation studio. And that's when I found Three Jewels. My very first class, Inner Guide, with Miriam Parker. Yeah. And what happened in that class changed my life forever. In her pre-meditation talk, also known as a Dharma talk, Miriam asked, why do we say we want something and then we do something else? What is happening in that gap? I sat there paralyzed, just hoping for an answer. And Miriam said, it has to do with our belief that we can't actually get it. My mind was spinning. Dots were starting to connect. Miriam went on. She said the reason she had come to meditation was because the problem solving her mind had been reaching for was no longer working. I had been negotiating, she said, with what was going on around me instead of dealing with what was inside. That was exactly what I'd been doing. My entire paradigm shifted that night. Nobody was forcing me to lie. Nobody was forcing me to live this way or that. I had been accepting the gap between what I wanted and what I was doing. In fact, I had been driving it. But that night in meditation, tuning into my inner guide and tuning out the ingrained habits of thinking, I was able to see that my true self was still there. She had never abandoned me. I had just stopped listening. From that day forward, meditation became a near daily practice in my life. And slowly, I started to see my walls come down. I started to find a new confidence in speaking my truth. Friends started coming into my life who celebrated me for who I actually am. And as I started to understand where my experience of the world actually comes from, my heart started to heal. I found my voice again. I learned to say no. I gained my power. Meditation helped me stop being a people pleaser. And now, I'm the boss, baby. Thank you. Thank you.